Welcome everyone. We're really excited that you tuned in. Really excited for today's presentation. We're going to, I'm just going to start with a little bit of welcome and introduce what we're going to talk about today. So I'm Cindy Pauley. I'm a practice broker here with OMNI Practice Group, and I'm broadcasting from the sparkling shores of Lake Washington at our national headquarters in Kenmore, Washington. I know we have dentists from multiple states tuning in today, so thank you all for joining. I will be the interactive host of today's events. My goal is to ask a few questions along the way that many listening might be wondering about. And if I've left some questions out, we'll have time at the end to hear from you. We will have you put your questions in the Q&A and not the chat. We won't be using the raised hand function. I think that's a common thing people say, and so people might be used to that. A little bit about me. After 28 years in private practice dentistry, I sold my business in 2019. I immediately got my real estate license and combined my love of dentistry, real estate, and business to become a broker here at OMNI Practice Group. Our team at OMNI is amazing, and we work at all levels of practice transitions, from detailed practice valuations, bringing practices to market for the sellers, as well as working with the buyers, all in total confidentiality. Besides brokering practices, one of OMNI's goals is to bring relevant, useful, and timely information to the dental community that we serve. This webinar idea stems from a simple story of my own practice journey. We went forward with the purchase of a complete CEREC system from Patterson a few short years before we retired. This goes against the conventional wisdom of not making big purchases that close to a sale. But what I learned was that it boosted our bottom line so fast and with such intensity, it made the sale of our practice easy and for the price that we wanted. My only regret was that we did not invest in the right technology for my office sooner. We had intraoral cameras. What's that? Oh, sorry. We had intraoral cameras as soon as they were readily available, which was always a huge practice builder. But I regret dragging my feet on several things, including digital radiographs, because I don't think I could practice without them, and CAD/CAM technology. Our conversion to a chartless office was also slow, and I feel in hindsight with a good consultant that it could have happened much faster and much smoother. The advanced technology is something I loved learning, and it's one of the things I still miss about practicing dentistry. So I wanted to bring you this dream team of folks that worked with me in my office. Woodard, Marta Korchemniy, Lisa Newman, and Micah Blackwood. They are some of the best people I have had the pleasure of working with in my practice career. I always felt like they cared about me and my practice health above all else. Mara is going to speak first on digital scanning technology and where it fits in a practice's life, as well as its capabilities, both clinically and for the bottom line. She is one of the most talented people I have ever worked with. She has been in the dental field at the highest levels of technology implementation for a long time and is able to teach what she knows in a simple but detailed way. Bottom line, she's an expert in the field. So with no further ado, I will hand this off to Mara now.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Cindy. Yes. And you know, your words are just, I just want to thank you for those words. Sometimes when you're in these roles, I guess sales roles, you don't realize the impact that you make, but it's a great reminder that we do what we do in this role, not because it's a job for us, but because we absolutely love it. And we all somehow have a background in dentistry and really, really love seeing how we can help a doctor get from here to here and really help them make an impact and make it back fun. So again, like Cindy said, thank you so much for having us here, inviting our team. We are, completely honored to be here in front of all of you and all of you doctors and team members, if you're joining us as well, to help share a little bit more about why technology is just helping all of these practice grow. So like she said, my name is Mara. I want to introduce my teammates first and foremost. They will be, I don't think my controller is going next. There we go. Thank you. We're going to start off with myself, and I'll be discussing some digital impressioning, which is right behind me, and some CAD/CAM and 3D printing. And then next, Lisa Newman will be sharing a little bit more about practice management softwares and how they play just an impactful role for keeping your finger on the pulse of the practice. And then after Lisa, you'll get to meet Marta, and she's going to go over why it is absolutely, with no doubt, a must to be actively involved with your media presence, and linking that to your practice. Then Micah is going to wrap this all up with a beautiful bow and talk to us about covering why cone beam, laser dentistry, and how the aesthetics of your practice plays a huge role in the selling of your practice and your dentistry, and setting it up to be a beautiful place for somebody to come in and attract them. So we hope that you're all inspired by what we have to share today, and hope that you are open to, having some conversations and taking the next steps towards investing into your practice. So again, my name is Mara, and I have over 20 years of experience in the dental field, and 15 of these years have been chairside with CAD/CAM technology alone. Through those 15 years, I spent training hundreds of offices with the integration of digital dentistry. And now that I'm with Patterson, I get to elevate that standard of care and patient experience by integrating CAD/CAM, 3D printing, digital impressioning into that dental workflow. So to say that I'm passionate about the benefits of digital technology is definitely an understatement. So let's get right into it. So let's talk about why. Why does it matter? And the one thing that we know is that there's always going to be change, right? I think for most of us this year, if we haven't adapted to change, we're in for some real problems. But for those on the call that are all ready to hang their hats, let me just share with you that it is not too late to start implementing technology. We have lots of doctors whose timelines were approaching quickly and took the opportunity to invest in this technology, and are so thankful they did. Going digital in dentistry just makes everything safer, faster, and definitely more fun. So let's talk about digital impressioning to get started, okay? Let's say, let's just talk about how this might increase interest for your prospective buyers and why change, right? Isn't scanning, most might ask themselves, isn't scanning just for lab crowns? You might take great impressions, and your lab is, you have this great relationship with your lab. But I want you to think about patient experience. One common denominator that attributes to a profitable practice is absolutely the consumer and the patient experience. So we must conform to what the modern day consumer wants. And the biggest want is to get time back. So how do you think scanning could increase your patient experience? And still, how could patient experience help my prospective buyers pay more for my practice? So keep in mind, your young prospective buyer might only know scanning based on the university they attended, or your buyer might have already multiple practices and are already using this technology in their practice. So let's just take a look at one reason why scanning is so popular from a patient experience. So the occasional crown that comes back and it doesn't fit. So we start with a happy patient, and then who's at a loss? What goes through the patient's mind? This was going to be a 40-minute appointment, and now I need to get back to work. I need to get numb again and have that cord thing put in my gums again. Wait, I need to come back again. Will I be charged? So time, pain, more time, financial stress, even though we know we're not going to charge them, this clearly is a stress to the patient. So what happens here? Our patient is now inconvenienced. Although we might be making it right, the patient is disappointed and out another trip. So their time is affected. And remakes are expensive for the practice, right? Let's take Gordon Christensen's suggested cost estimate for a crown impressioning appointment. Should we need to re-impression this crown? So the chair time is about $35. Re-impressioning, making a new temporary, maybe could be another $35. I'm pretty sure those fees are much more expensive now with the current situation we're going through. The assistant time that it's going to take, you know, pack the gourd, maybe get them numb again, you know, it's about $20. And let's just pretend we're talking about a $3,200 daily doctor goal. And that might be $400 per hour. So now we're out a minimum of $490. Would you agree? Let's not talk about, maybe we do talk about the value of that patient. Maybe that new patient was worth $20,000 and now is frustrated and doesn't want to come back. So we might end up losing that patient and any value that was added to that patient's portfolio. So let's say your lab is amazing and you never have that problem. You never have to remake crowns. So what are some other reasons that offices are integrating digital impressioning? So number one is communication. If you could visually communicate something like this, show a patient their bite open-faced or occluded, and give them some insight to their oral health and give them a chance to own their disease, do you think this might lead to some new procedures? Maybe placing implants or referring them for an implant, getting the crown, maybe clear aligners. How about some comprehensive reconstruction? Who loves selling dentistry one tooth at a time? It's not awesome. 3D printed appliances, so night guards. Maybe we're talking about sleep apnea now. You don't need to diagnose it, but you should be a filter for, you know, being aware of it. And then we're, you know, easily reducing our remakes. So maybe next might be patient analysis. If we could take a scan every single year and layer those scans on top of each other, we could then go over and show them the tooth wear, right? This was 1 year ago, this is this year. We're now fixing this tooth for the third time in 1 year, right? So now that we've chipped this multiple times, what's the treatment? As you can see in this photo, we've got a little bit of erosion, right? Every year we're showing that it's getting worse and worse. We could show drifting, super eruption, and crowding. So now your case acceptance is going up and your patient's asking, well, how long can I wait? Well, now we have a timeline we can show them. We're not just in our brains trying to remember last year, was it 1 millimeter that they lost? Or I don't know, this, you know, we try to tell them. Can I get a night guard made today? That's a possibility these days. Will you do my implant or will I be referred out? And when can I schedule this? Okay. Efficiencies. If you were able to see adequate reduction, tissue retraction, and educate the patient once again why behind this treatment we're doing it, would this help increase quadrant dentistry, same-day treatment, and respect your patient's time? So let's not confuse same-day dentistry with single-visit dentistry. Let's talk about same-day dentistry. Patient comes in, fractured a tooth, or patient comes in, I only want a cleaning today. You go in and there's a fractured tooth, there's this, there's that. If we could offer them to have that crown prepped today because we gave them a visual of how it's affecting the rest of their bite or whatever else is going on, how powerful would that be? So now, since we're on the topic of return on investment, let's talk about single visit dentistry. So now bear with me here, okay? Remember, I was a CEREC baby. I endured all of those struggles that could have possibly gone wrong with the end result. And it is not fair to compare the technology from 15 years ago to now. You would not want to compare me 15 years ago to now. I was just a little kid and, you know, I'm a grown up now and it's just things change, right? So there's just no doubt that removing the $70 for the room setup, the impression, the temporary, are all contributors to that bottom line, right? And if we're talking about return on investment, this is what we're talking about. So, or let's pretend like you restore a lot of implant crowns because now you have a cone beam, or maybe you're marketing to more implant patients. So that $500 you used to spend on an implant crown or more, I know that there are larger lab bills out there. Now, how about an $180 to make it in-house? How does that sound? and you have full control. Emergence profile, you're not getting a stock abutment, and now you're getting food trapped in there. You can give them a visual of what it looked like before. And so now you're saying, hey, see this where your gum tissue is receded. We may not be able to fill that in. You're having a conversation with the patient and allowing them to really own inside there. So I kind of want to, really quickly go through some of the changes. And then I'd love for Cindy's feedback inside here, because I know that this is something that she was really, really excited to add to her practice, and probably one of her least favorites that she had to leave, right? She was getting in right when it was good. So, when she came in.
So yeah, I appreciate that. The things that I noticed with with this technology that was amazing was that, and things that I didn't necessarily see ahead of time were that there was reduced sensitivity because they're not in a temporary. The tissue was really nice. So it was very rare that you even had to deal with the slightest bit of tissue irritation as you were seating the crown, because you were basically not putting them in a temporary for a certain amount of time. And there's no dentist out there that hasn't dealt with tissue issues around a temporary crown. And the idea that we were still, even when we sold, we had still not gotten to a really fast level, but it was so obvious that it was such a huge add to the bottom line, because, an example would be an emergency patient would come in with a broken cusp. We were able to, if we had time, get him into a chair, instead of put him in a temporary, bring him back, put him in a temporary, bring him back. We were able to get him in a chair, get the tooth prepped, crown on, patient super happy, insurance billed, and patient paid that day, and it was done. And I can only think, because I haven't practiced dentistry in the post-COVID world, that those types of issues with the COVID is maybe even more. And I don't know what you've seen when you've been out with the practices, Mara, as far as that. But the other thing to me was just the cost, and I think you can't emphasize that enough. So my question to you about the costs, and also maybe the post-COVID world, would be what is the average cost when you're milling a crown and milling an you said implant was about $180, which is significant savings. What's the average cost for the crown implant?
So depending on the material that you're going to use, Emax is a little bit more expensive, maybe a couple bucks. You're looking at probably between $25, $26. And then for zirconia, you're even looking maybe even less, depending on the type of zirconia that you want to use. You could be down to $22.
Wow.
For just the block, right? And you're eliminating that whole other appointment. Again, you have full control. And I think that's what's been the game changer for my doctors now getting into CAD/CAM. And speaking of post-COVID, I think for all of us, technology has been probably the number one focus for a lot of our doctors, because post-COVID, patients don't want to go to other doctors. If you're their dentist, they want you to figure out how to be their dentist for everything, right?
Right.
And doctors coming out of school or buying your practice are going to say, hey, I'm going to want to do that, because there's a large emphasis on that. And so they're going to want at least somebody to have done the groundwork to get that started in that practice. And so, your blocks are very inexpensive. A lot of doctors will tell me that, coming back a second time doesn't really bother my patient. But I think if you asked out of 10 patients, how many of them would rather have one visit, it's a big deal. So, CAD/CAM.
I think that when they're used to two, they're used to two, but when they go to one, they get ecstatic. Yeah. And it becomes a real positive. And the other thing, just to go on the idea of where this technology has come, when you take the time, which isn't that much time, these results are flawless. They really are. And the contacts are perfect because the tooth isn't moving in between the appointment. The occlusion is perfect because nothing's super erupted because your temporary was a little low or that kind of thing. So it's absolutely, the technology has come to the point where you can create absolutely stunning work. And I was probably one of those people who was a little bit on the, thinking back to the infancy. And I almost wanted to scream it from the mountaintops, how amazing the technology was and how flawless you could get these margins and how flawless you could get your results. And aesthetically, with the new zirconias, strong and beautiful. They were translucent, they were gorgeous. Little custom staining on some of the Emax crowns, and it was just stunning. But I am seeing some technology in there that's really interesting, and I wanted to ask you, can you get one appointment night guards? Is that what I'm seeing you talk about?
My next slide was going to be covering just kind of really quickly the patient experience, and I know that you touched on it, from a patient standpoint. I mean, you've got, number one is the patient experience, and CAD/CAM is not a get-rich tool. Absolutely not. It is just going to be one of those tools that you offer in your practice where it's a patient retention, and even your team members, right? Your team gets really excited about doing this. It's fun. And then all the things that Doctor talked about, I didn't even show her this slide, and this is my slide, and you pretty much covered my slide. So thank you, because everything on there you covered. But as far as 3D printing, this is such a huge topic right now. Everybody wants to 3D print. Everything is 3D printed. My orthotics for my feet were 3D printed. So, you can, 3D print surgical guides. What if you decide you're going to get a cone beam, and now you're like, whoa, I want to start making my own guides, right? I'm not going to pay my lab guy $350 to make them. How about I do it for $2, right? What if I starting to do clear aligners, right? Use some indirect bonding trays, which most GPs are going to say, heck no, that's just too much work, right? But clear aligners, that's huge right now. Digital dentures, that was nothing 3 years ago, but digital dentures now, guess who? Your colleagues are the ones pushing this technology. The dentists are the ones making this happen. There are softwares designed by dentists out here pushing this software, right? Because you guys know what you need, and why do you need to have somebody else do it for you, right? Night guards, like I said, how awesome would that be? Hey, you have a patient that has an implant, it's cost you $2 to make a night guard. Why not make them one for $50? If they do a full case reconstruction, give it to them as a gift, right? It's the best gift we can give them. Crowns and bridges, things like that. Temporaries used to be available, or they still are, but now they're starting to look at more of permanent restorations. You got nano, hybrid composites, things like that you're starting to be able to use. So these prices are legit. These are for the cost of the resin. That is what it costs to make these. And I would say my dentures, that's pretty a high guess right here. So the offices are going bananas with 3D printing. It is so much fun. I didn't think it was going to be that hot, but it is. I can't keep up with it. It's so fun.
Wow.
So, and I think if we just ask ourselves again, why DI, why CAD/CAM, why 3D printing? How could improving that patient experience and removing the lab costs possibly help market my practice to a new buyer? Hopefully you learn something from here that kind of gets you excited and would love a further deeper conversation so that we can kind of treatment plan for your office, what might be the next steps.
And I would just add and of course I can't only speak for myself. It dramatically increased the bottom line. So I don't know all offices when they've added CAD/CAM, but it was a tremendous boost. Just in that savings, just in the, all of a sudden it just started adding up, just little things added up, and again, not like, it's going to be, but it adds up, and it sells itself. The patients are like, do I need a crown? Tell me I need one. You don't need a crown.
And they're referring
I want one of those fast day crowns.
It becomes your biggest marketing tool because they want to tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
About posting it. I mean, Marta's going to go into web presence. Imagine that's milling and your patient's recording that and putting it on your social media.
Right. And they did.
Huge.
Yeah. And they did. And they would record it being milled, because we had the milled displayed out. Thanks to your team, we got it displayed out in front. And anyway, it was just amazing. So, and this 3D printing, that's incredibly exciting. We did not have that going. And that's just in this last while that's really zoomed. So it's incredible. Thank you so much for that information.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I would like to introduce Lisa next, Lisa Newman. She is our what we call a technology advisor for our practice management softwares. She's spent about 23 years working with Patterson in a variety of different roles, and her most recent role was being the technology advisor for our Seattle branch. And this has been going on since 2008. Lisa has actually just completed what, Lisa, tell me, what is it, 25 years? No.
It's getting close, but
25, almost 25 years.
It's crazy.
Yep. So in her current role, she connects with all offices within Western Washington and helps consult with them and gets them where they need to be. She enjoys teaching and enjoys the new software technology, and actually is one of our lead technology advisors for our company and does a lot of the pilot programs and teaches other technology advisors. So with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Lisa and have her take it away.
Thank you so much, Mara.
Yes.
Great presentation with great information from you. And today I'll be focusing on practice management software and different software solutions for the offices. As we all know, software is just necessary to run your dental practice. But what we might not know is how much software has evolved and changed. And as Mara mentioned, I've been training on dental software for the past 12 years now. And even in that amount of time, you know, I have seen so much change with software. So when you think back to what software used to be, it was, you know, for basic functions like scheduling and accounting. And I can even remember, you know, helping an office take their paper schedule that was in a book and then put it in the computer. So again, so much change has happened. And you think back to, you know, well, even today though, we have paper charts to store our patient data and process x-ray films manually. And that was all done outside of the software. And then also a lot of offices probably sent, you know, correspondence like recall postcards through the mail. And now when you think about software, today, it has truly evolved, and it's all about technology and staying connected to both your practice and to your patients. And I go back to think about a new dentist, hygienist assistant, anyone right out of school. If they were to walk into a dental office, what would they expect out of the software? You know, they have learned probably all that new technology from school now. And so when you think about it, what does your software offer? It can be, is it modern and intuitive? Is it easy to use day to day? They definitely probably learned in school how that, you know, you just are chartless, which is definitely attainable. If you're not there yet, you can get there. And then digital x-rays for sure. If you're not in that element yet where you're taking digital x-rays, you got to get there. That's just where we're at today. And then again, that's what they're learning in school. And then when we talked about, you know, the world that we've gone through in the last year, you want to have that, if you could have the option to work remotely. I think we all had to get creative this last year to figure that out. And so you can have those softwares out there that will give you that flexibility. And then also with just communicating electronically, when you think about what you do in your personal life, we all text and email. And so you want that same, or you probably would think that your patients would have that same expectation from their dental office as well. So we'll go ahead and take a closer look at, you know, what software could do for you today. There are so many software solutions out on the market. The one I'm showing you here is one that I've trained on personally, and it's a cloud-based software called Fuse. As you can see, it's really modern and intuitive. You can use, like find a patient online. It's very similar to doing a Google search. That top patient bar there that I'm showing would have an easy way for you to find your patient. And this is just an overview screen that has all of that patient information in one area. So again, easy and intuitive. And then this particular software also comes with built-in training resources. And so I've tried to show here where with just pop-ups, I could click on a resource to say, maybe how do I post a payment? And it'll literally walk me through every step of that process. And this is a wonderful resource to utilize, especially when you bring on a new staff member. And really in general, you want your whole staff to know how to use the software you have in your office. And so this is just one of many ways that you can make that happen. So you want to know the health of your practice. What's an easier way than just by looking at dashboards with easy to read graphs? And so we've got a couple examples here. There's one for that shows a provider dashboard, and this will just give you insight into what you have going on in your day. So anywhere from who is on your schedule, what is your production so far this month, do you have unfinished you know, clinical notes to attend to, and so much more. And then with the practice dashboard, it truly does help you keep a finger on the pulse of your practice. And so we would call those, the different things we see here in those graphs, your key performance indicators or KPIs. So we'll go.
So Lisa, I have a question.
Yes.
In all my practice life, I never had a graph that looked as fabulous as that. How easy is it to make reports like that?
It's attainable. There's, especially now more than ever, there's options out there. So if your software doesn't have a graph, you can also find someone that can integrate that with you. There's a company called Dental Intel that gives you that information. Of course, you can pull reports, and you just want to know your numbers is the bottom line. But to me, if you had a graph that just told you that, it's just that much easier. So some softwares, like in this example, have that as part of the software, or you can integrate, like I said, a program such as Dental Intel that will give you that information. And so if we we'll take a closer look at some of those KPIs or those metrics that you could see. So if we look here, I've got a few examples that are from that practice dashboard. And so one is hygiene retention. So this is just a great, easy way to see out of the patients you're treating, who is coming back and scheduling their next visit with your office. And then also with accounts receivables and outstanding claims, if you could just look at a graph and see how those numbers are, you want to know that you're getting paid for the work that you're doing. So again, this is just an easy way to see, how that is. And then finally with case acceptance, just so easy again to see out of all the treatment plans that you're presenting to your patients, how many of those are getting accepted and scheduled by your patients. And I say up here that I truly feel the key to a healthy and profitable practice is just knowing your numbers. So however you can find that, you just want to stay in the know.
Those are amazing. I feel like that is as clear as you could ever read something.
Yes, so
Wonderful.
easy. Yeah, and again, you can keep on top of it every day. So now, we talked about Chartless and how, again, someone coming out of school, that's probably what they have learned and what they're expecting. So this, again, is an example of how, you can be Chartless. It's definitely, like I said earlier, it's attainable. This is an example of the clinical screen that we have here, where, again, all of your patient data is stored in one area. And this even shows a timeline, and it's really similar to what you might see on social media sites like Facebook and Instagram. So if you're used to kind of scrolling through that way, this is a really similar idea. So it's, again, really attainable and easy to find the data you need to treat your patients. And then I just kind of want to mention here as well, again, with digital x-rays, that's where we're at now. And you want to have just that software in place that will let you acquire and view those images all within your practice management software. And again, we've talked about, I mentioned briefly that, having that remote access. Here we are all online today, and we had to figure out a way to do that. And so, with a cloud-based software, you obviously would have that capability. So if you're looking into a software and you're wanting that access remotely, this will give you that flexibility anywhere that you can, access a web browser on any device. You would be able to work with your data. And also, if you're thinking, even contemplating, I might want to add more locations one day. If you had a cloud-based software, that'll give you, again, that flexibility. And even if it's not for yourself, looking to expand, you might have something coming in behind you, and that's maybe the goal that they hope to have. And again, when it's cloud-based, you would have one patient record stored in your database, and it would be accessible from all locations. And then again, back to electronic communications, there's programs that you can integrate into your practice management software. A couple that I want to show here are RevenueWell and Solution Reach, and they can do so much for your practice. It's just a wonderful tool, and they truly do promote growth in your practice. They can do so much for you, where you just set up those automated processes and take that workload off of yourself and just have the systems do that for you. And so not only would they, with these programs, do those automated patient communications for like reminders and follow up on recare, they also would help you create more of an online presence for your office. And so when you sign up for the programs, they create a microsite. And then, if you think about a patient new to the area trying to find a dentist, this will give you that one more place for them to find you online. And another really cool feature you could set up are campaigns. So just an easy way to do maybe a mass email to all of your patients. And maybe you're telling them, I have this great new technology in my practice. now, or you're running a special that month and maybe you want to send that to a select group of patients. You have that capability by just running these easy campaigns. And then again, with when we look at what we do in our daily lives, I would go online to post or pay my bills and maybe book a flight or book a dinner reservation. And so these programs also would allow you to give that same opportunity to your patients by creating a portal. And then through the portal, they can request an appointment and then also make a payment towards their account. And then lastly, with reviews, again, so easy to just ask for a review. And then when you get that back, you can post that on your social media like Facebook and Twitter. And that's just such an awesome opportunity for you, not only to advertise how great your practice is now, but if you are in that, you know, that time frame of maybe looking to sell, it's such a great way to show a potential buyer, you know, how great your practice is as well. So I'd say in closing, no matter where you are in the life of your dental practice, whether you are just new starting out or you have been, you know, practicing for quite a while, maybe you're even looking to sell here shortly, you want to have a software in place that will definitely help promote growth in your practice, not only again for you now, but for that potential buyer in the future.
Lisa, I just had a couple of quick questions.
Yep.
One is, I'm intrigued by the scheduling online. Do you have practices that you're working with that are scheduling online, and how
Absolutely.
is it working?
Absolutely. I know Mara will be talking about one, which is LocalMed, but the one I mentioned with like Revenue on Solution Reach, when we say they can go and request appointments, I think where maybe the scary part is, oh, I don't have control, but you do have control over where they go. But it just kind of opens that up to if a patient says, I really can only come in on a certain day of the week, or this is when it works for me. And then you can see if that fits into your schedule.
I see.
It's really, I think, intuitive and a nice way to help fill your schedule.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it sounds amazing. And it sounds like it cuts down on a lot of that negotiation time that you
exactly.
the front office spend, where they're, okay, why don't you tell me when you're ready? As opposed
right, exactly.
yeah, when you first offer the appointments. The other thing that I'm wondering about, in my office, it was incredibly long and sometimes painful to convert to Chartless.
Yes.
It was, I know it took longer than it should have. I'm wondering, as a practicing dentist right now, could I reach out to you and have you consult and help me if I was in the situation of converting? Would you be able to come to my office and consult and let me know how to go about doing it?
Absolutely. I'm always happy to help and try and guide you in any way I can. Of course, to truly like to train and kind of show you those processes, I know the softwares I train on personally, but definitely I would be here to help and guide in any way.
Thank you. That was so helpful. I feel like, it's amazing how fast everything changes, and
yes, it is.
And how interactive, and, just like you said, knowing your numbers is so important. And especially as you're getting even to the end of your practice life and it's time to sell.
Yes.
To have a really detailed knowledge of where your practice is, and, and maybe could be prior to that is so valuable. So I love it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. And now I'll just pass it back to Mara so then she can introduce Marta.
Great, thank you. I hope you can all hear me. I muted myself, but I wanted to make sure that so I wasn't interrupting Lisa. But it's my pleasure to introduce Marta, our next speaker. She has over 8 years of experience as well, supporting various roles in the dental field, and has helped many practices grow in many different facets of their practice and becoming profitable, bottom line. So by introducing technology, keeping practices up to date on the latest trends, and helping with organization, Marta has helped so many offices elevate their patient experience. And currently, she is a territory manager for Patterson Dental, and has brought all of that information into being the catalyst for the dental practice for growth and profitability. Please welcome Marta.
Thank you, Mara. Hi, everybody. As she mentioned, I will be talking about web presence and how important it is to all of us We live in a new world. I live in a new world where everything is at the tip of our fingertips. And what I'm talking about is our phone. I'm a millennial and I book my flights, my rides, sometimes even do my grocery shopping online. And in this new world where web presence for any business is so important, it's especially important for the dental field. And it's almost not even an option, to be honest, just because, you know, everybody spends so much time on their phone. There's so many social media outlets out there. There's Twitter, there's Pinterest, there's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and there's a lot even more than that. So if you have, there you go. Are you familiar with any of these logos? There's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. If you have not seen these before, it's time to get familiar with them right now. I'm not even joking at all because so many people out there are spending so much time on these apps. For example, for myself, I am spending too much time on Instagram. My mom's generation is mainly more on Facebook. You know, if you have people who are in the tech industry, they're going to be spending a ton of time on LinkedIn. So you want to be familiar with these. US adults spend an average of 3 hours and 35 minutes per day on their mobile device. And they pick it up to 80 times per day. And it sounds super crazy, but I'm guilty, and I'm sure a lot of us are as well. So everyone has their eyes glued to their screen. And is your business popping up? So if you're not on social media, you are losing market share. So you may be wondering why or how. Social media is the storefront of our business. And this is a place where you can show off the health of your practice. It's a place that you can show off your successful cases. If you have a new piece of equipment that you just bought, this is a place to upload it and show it off. If I'm scrolling through my feed and I see, a post that you've posted that you have single visit dentistry, I'm just going to be like, wow, I can go just once. I don't have to keep going back, taking time off work. In this COVID world right now, I don't have to be exposed an extra time. That's amazing. And so it's going to drive me to click on your website and then keep, taking a look at what you have, and then it's going to drive me to go into your practice. So social media is there to show people like myself what you got and just to show off your staff and how fun your practice is and make me want to go there. 50% of the time people search for a dentist. When they're searching for a dentist, they're going to be checking for your Instagram, your Facebook, your website. And if you're not on there, they're not going to go to you, unfortunately. And we want people to come to us. So that's why I said it's not even an option these days. So what steps can we take if you don't have social media right now, or maybe even if you do already, but maybe you're not consistent? Go to your youngest employee, whoever's maybe doing your sterilization, or whoever the youngest employee is. Ask them to create some social media accounts for you. And trust me, they're going to think it's fun. They're going to be like, you want me to be on my phone at work? It's going to just be so great. And that way you can involve more of your staff, and they can definitely help you with this. It's going to be fun. They'll need about 15 minutes per day, or maybe even every other day, to make a post and just share, what are you guys doing? What cases are you guys doing? Do you have maybe somebody brought you lunch? Just anything, as long as you're posting. You want to be consistent, because social media platforms have algorithms where they will show more of your content and more of your page if you're consistent, if you're posting consistently. You also want to make sure that it looks nice, that it's presentable and eye-catching. If your team is too busy, you can always invest in a social media marketing company that can also help you keep everything going, keep it consistent and professional. I mean, if you need a contact, I can definitely provide you resources on that. The next thing I will cover is the website. Again, that's such an important part of any practice. If you're, it doesn't matter what stage of practice ownership you're in, it's important for every single person, because it's the first place people will go. If I'm going to Google a dentist, and whatever website pops up on there, it better be yours. So it's super important for you to have it. It's the storefront of your business. And even if I go to Instagram first, I will still always look for a website. And there's so many other people like me, especially the millennial generation. We're on our phone, and it's just very important. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Cindy, but I think having a steady flow of patients plays a pretty big role when determining the value of a practice, and this will bring in a lot more people.
Yeah, actually, the things that it's interesting when you go to sell your practice, we're looking at and evaluating and marketing your practice based on new patients per month that the practice is getting, the online presence, including your website, and also your reviews, preferably lots of good ones. And it sounds like what you're saying is good reviews and more of them come from integrating the software with the review system as well. Correct, Marta?
Exactly. It's kind of almost like a health meter for your practice. When honestly, most of the time, people who write reviews are the ones that will want to write bad ones. So you're going to have to ask your patients for good reviews. They can, either email you your review or write it on Google or on Facebook. It's super important to have them updated and fresh on your website, because, that's the first thing people will see, and they want to make sure that it's fresh content, that it's most relevant and most current to what they're going to experience when they come in right now.
And the other thing that was so key that when you were talking, it occurred to me, such a good suggestion, is that in our office, we used our youngest employee for all the social media online. She loved it. We loved it. And it was amazing. And I didn't realize till you were speaking that we had picked the youngest person. and you're right. She was a she, but she viewed it as a whole lot of fun to do that, and we viewed it as a whole lot of something off our plate for her to be doing that. So it's a great suggestion.
Thank you. With that being said, so when you're working on your website, there's 5 steps that I'm just going to recommend quickly. You want to plan it out, you then build it, then you want to share it, grow it, and maintain it. You want to think about who is your website for? Who is the demographic that you're trying to get to come into your practice? And you want to cater it to that ideal patient that you want to bring into your practice. First impressions matter. So when you are building your website, you want to consider that as well. Make sure it looks professional, that you have everything ready to go. Once it's done, you want to share it. Building it is just getting yourself halfway there. If you want to send out a newsletter, if you have emails, you want to share it so that people know that it exists. Maybe ask your patients to share it with their friends as well. That way you can, get even more people into your practice. Growing the website also is very important. You want to make sure, again, like I mentioned before, putting in the reviews, keeping it relevant, keeping it fresh. And that leads into maintaining the website. You want to always just update it. If you have a new staff member, if you have, a new piece of equipment, you want to update it on the website as well. So moving on, I'm going to touch a little bit on local med. Local med is not a social media outlet, but it works perfectly, and it goes hand in hand with social media and your website. It's a real-time scheduling tool that plugs into your social media or website. So as I mentioned before, I book my flights on my phone, and I do my grocery shopping sometimes on my phone, and so does so many other people. And so since, patients are booking the rides, flights, doing grocery shopping online, they don't want to be calling you and playing phone tag with you, or emailing and waiting, and then, somebody doesn't respond or doesn't see it. It's just not very convenient, and convenience is listed as the #1 factor in scheduling a dental visit. 81% of people want to schedule it online, and 38% of those people, they want to schedule when you're closed. So maybe they are, laying in bed, or they wake up at 3 a.m. and they're like, well, crap, I have not been to my dentist in a while. And then imagine somebody just scrolling through their feed, and they're on social media, they're clicking a button, they find you on Instagram, let's say, right? They click on it, and 60 seconds later, they could be booked directly into your practice management software, but you still get to control that schedule, like Lisa was saying previously, and that's amazing. Local med can increase your website and social media conversion 35 to 70%, which is huge. That brings a lot more people that normally wouldn't get scheduled right then and there into your office. And so it's just a great tool that will make, your practice more profitable, more desirable. Even if, maybe it's time to sell your practice, it's going to definitely make it more desirable. So I know it's a lot of information that I just gave you, but I just want to encourage you to take that next step, take some action, talk to your youngest person, create, an Instagram page, a Facebook page. You want to be present across all of the platforms. I just want to encourage you, just because different age groups will spend different their time on different platforms, and you want to get everybody kind of as a whole to be able to see you and know that your practice exists and it's out there. So thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate your attention.
I have a quick question.
Yeah,
with the local med, tell me how I would get that. What do I do? What are the steps?
Absolutely. So you can go to localmed.com. There's a lot of great information. There's a video you can watch on their website that will explain step-by-step everything that you need to do. They're a great company, and then you can definitely get plugged in and get more info that way.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Marta. Thank you for bringing us into the times. These are great suggestions. Thank you
so much.
Great job, Marta. Thank you. I am guilty as well, being too much on my phone, but it's for work. It's for work. Well, up next, and last but not least, is our Micah Blackwood. He has been an equipment specialist for Patterson for almost a little over 5 years, and he considers himself to be extremely lucky to be a part of bringing his clients' visions to life by building out their dream practices. Micah really, really does shine when he is providing as a resource during this discovery of technology and equipment. And he really does cherish the lifelong relationships he has developed through this process. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Micah to the stage.
Mara, thank you so much for that introduction. Guys, I promise I did not have to pay her to say that stuff. But thank you for those kind words. It's truly an honor to be here with all of you today. A huge shout out to Dr. Cindy and the OMNI team. Thank you guys for your partnership and for giving us the opportunity to be here and chat with everybody about all of this amazing technology and equipment. Wow, yeah, it's such a cool time to be in this industry, isn't it? Now, a little background on me. So part of my role as an equipment specialist, right? There's never-ending list of equipment options that you guys have, right? You've got your intraoral cameras, you've got your sensors, you've got cone beams and lasers and, chairs and deliveries, cabinets, vacs, compressors. It's just like the list goes on, right? There's all sorts of stuff, right? So part of my role as an equipment specialist is to really, be a guide, be a resource to you. Hopefully I can help educate you throughout the process. I'm in hundreds and hundreds of practices every year all across Western Washington and Alaska. And, guys, I see a lot of good stuff and I see some bad stuff, right? So hopefully you come away from this presentation today and really, just view us as your team that can help kind of, guide you through this and help you make the best decision for your practice. So next slide there, Mar. Yep. So with that being said, so 2 words that I'd really like to focus on here are exceeding expectations. All right. Now take a second and I want you to think, what do these 2 words mean to me? Right. So absolutely, I'm not setting the expectation that you're going to get a high five from every patient after you finish up a procedure with them, although that would be kind of awesome, right? But I think, in all seriousness, I think it's important that we ask ourselves, what is the level of expectation that you're setting with your patients when they come into your practice? Okay, would you say that you're setting that upper level, that top tier expectation? Are you more like in the middle? Are you above average? Hopefully we can all agree that none of us are providing a subpar experience to our patients, right? Nobody wants to be there. You don't want the patients to come into your practice and be, like, gross, I'm not going to come here again, So, I think if we ask ourselves, what are the expectations that we're setting? when patients come in. I think, you know, a central theme of today's practice is going to be, you know, technology in your practice. But I think a core part of that is what are the expectations that you're setting as the business owner and the CEO of not only your practice, but your brand, right? So now visualize this with me. Next slide, Mar. There we go. I'm sorry, guys. There's a little bit of a delay on when Mara clicks and in this world of Zoom. So visualize this with me, okay? So how many times have you had a patient, they're sitting in your chair, you've got, you know, either your digital x-ray image, intraoral camera pic, you know, you've got something up, you're showing them this image, and they've just got kind of a, you know, a confused look on their face. They're not connecting the dots, right? They're not understanding why you're recommending this treatment plan. Hopefully they're not giving you the finger. That would be a bad thing, right? Like that picture shows. Yeah, we've all heard it a million times. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Picture is worth 1,000 words, okay? Quick statistic for you guys. So there was a large dental economics study done a few years back, and they tracked case acceptance rates for general dentists across the country. You're not gonna believe it, the rate was not 100%, okay? There was not a 100% case acceptance rate. It actually tracked out, the surveys found that it was only 40%. And so it was really surprising to me that it was that low. And I think you got to ask yourself, you know, are you tracking your case acceptance rate in the practice? You know, I know this is something that, you know, Lisa, Marta, Mara, and I, we talk about with our clients. It's something that you can easily pull from your practice management software. You know, nowadays it's easier than ever. Lisa, she showed real quickly those executive dashboards that can kind of pull up all of these statistics. You've got the information at your fingertips. How are you using it, right? So, you know, we want to be tracking that, and you want to ask yourself, how much production am I letting walk out the door? Okay. When you're driven by a defined set of goals and a vision, you're going to be much more likely to create the kind of technology-centered experience that's going to it's going to wow your patients, and it's going to help them understand and connect the dots why you're so passionate about your dentistry and why you do what you do. Okay. As the practice leader, your tone sets the path forward for your practice, for your team, and for your patients. Okay. How many times do you think that having a more detailed picture or a set of images to show your patients exactly what's going on in their mouth and why they need to accept your recommended treatment would result in them saying yes and accepting your plan? Okay. The answer is at least one time more per month than, hey, thank you for joining our call, because I think you're going to get a lot of value from this. But, you know, we're going to show you guys how you can invest in this technology, how you can increase your production. Now you can start earning an immediate ROI for your practice and providing your patients with a much higher standard of care. Okay, today we're going to go over a bunch of topics, right? And hopefully your head's not spinning at the end of it, but we're going to start talking about 3D cone beam technology. We're going to do a kind of a 30,000 foot flyover on hard and soft tissue CO2 lasers. And then we're going to chat a little bit about sterilization centers and workflow. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to help tie it all together and show you guys how you can provide your patients with, you know, a higher level standard of care, how you can boost your production, and how you can immediately get an ROI on this technology investment. Investing in 3D technology is a big, big step for your practice, okay? There's lots of factors that go into deciding on the best course of action for you and your team. All right, guys, if you're considering investing in a 3D cone beam, you should sit down and you need to ask yourself, you know, is now the right time to do this? Okay, you got to be in the right mindset, right? Do you have a strong team in place that'll be excited about this technology and is going to support you, right? They have to support you. Dr. Cindy can attest to that. You don't have a team that's invested in this with you, it's not going to be successful, right? And you want to fully utilize this equipment. Okay. Have you laid out your 1-year plan, your 5-year plan, your 10-year plan for your practice? Okay. Maybe doing a vision board. If you guys don't know what a vision board is, Google it, sit down and do one. I promise you, it'll have an immediate impact on your plan for your practice. Okay. Lastly, you want to think about all of the different 3D options that you have, right? There's a lot of manufacturers making cone beams, a lot of options that go into these units, a lot of different features and softwares and stuff that comes along with them. So you want to make sure that you sit down, that you understand all of the options and that aligns with your practice goals. Okay, so you decided that 3D is the best investment for your practice. All right, now is the time to do it. You're jumping in both feet, right? No dipping your toes in the water. Okay, so have you thought about the specific procedures that you'd like to add to your schedule? Okay, I can tell you that implants are by far the most popular procedure. That's the one that I get the most questions about, tied to 3D units. And, quite honestly, it's an easy way for you guys to make an immediate impact on your bottom line. Okay. Average implant case in King County is around $2,400. And as you know, this can rise pretty significantly if you end up having to add more procedures in there, maybe a bone or tissue graft or a sinus lift. Now, I want you to think about, if you add just one implant procedure per week, right, over a month, you're going to be adding about 10K in production, right? Pretty good boost, right? That's just one procedure a week. Think about it, that annualized now, right? Now you're up into, 6 digits on production boost. And this can start having a very significant impact on your bottom line. Okay. Now let's talk about the cost of cone beams, right? I know the old days, everybody thought cone beams, God, they're so expensive, 100 grand plus. I'm going to be sucked in on these crazy warranty plans or subscriptions, or do I have to pay for, this software? Well, I can tell you guys good news. Those days are long gone. The price of a cone beam has dropped significantly. You can now get into cone beams in the $50,000 to $70,000 price range, right? They come with full warranty plans. They come with acquisition computers, imaging programs, and all the bells and whistles that you can think of. Okay. You can finance this equipment too to make it easy, right? So you can finance it with your distributor. Patterson offers in-house financing. You can use your bank to finance. Dentists are one of the safest investments out there, right? You guys do not fail. So we're willing to lend you this money to get this investment in your practice because it's going to be successful, right? You can get these payments between $1,200 to $1,800 a month, depending on the unit that you're going with and the term of the loan. So it's super affordable, and you're not going to fail, guys. I can promise you, I've seen this too many times. The average production boost when dentists invest in 3D technology, you're going to see about a 25 to a 35% gain in production in your first year. So, these are real numbers. And I think it's important that you ask yourself, can I afford to miss out on this? Another huge untapped market for your practice may lie in the screening for obstructive sleep apnea, OSA. Okay. I want to be clear, guys. You're not diagnosing for OSA. Okay. That's not what I'm saying here. You're not going to diagnose, but you can play a super critical, important role in pre-screening and screening your patients for OSA, potentially saving their lives. Okay. Having a cone beam gives you the ability to scan your patient's airway. Okay. You can find those troublesome spots where maybe it's restricted, and you can help them out. You can pre-screen and ask them some super easy questions that will help if they're a candidate for an OSA, for a sleep home kit. Okay. You can be trained through courses to send patients home. There's one manufacturer that actually has a full sleep program associated with their cone beam unit. Comes with a sleep appliance kit, comes with, a partnership with a company that'll diagnose the results. You can 3D print an appliance. So it's just super simplified. You can go through the courses, you can get the process down, and, you can have a significant impact on your patients' lives. Another big thing to consider is the production side of this. So I have some practices that have these sleep programs, these sleep procedures implemented into their practice. And you can charge anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 for one of these procedures. So you can have a very significant boost to your bottom line. Now, thinking about how all of this technology communicates is super important, right? This is vital to how successful you're going to be with integrating this new technology into your practice. Okay. So let's just kind of go back through the presentation, right? So we had Mara was talking about CAD/CAM, right? So you've got your imaging software for your scanner, right? For your digital scanner, right? Then we had Lisa talking about practice management software, right? So you've got your intraoral camera pics, you've got your digital sensor images. Those are going to be stored, in your practice management software. Now you've got a cone beam, right? You've got your cone beam 3D imaging software, your implant planning software. How all of this technology communicates with each other, very, very important. So this is something, that we take a lot of pride in, is sitting down, explaining to you the workflow, making sure that you understand how everything's going to work together. Because, I can tell you guys, we're doing this Zoom call. It's on my PC laptop, right? I've got an iPhone right here, and you got your tablet, your iPad. And this stuff does not talk to each other. When it's not working, it's like you're like your hair stands up, right? It's not a good thing. Not a good thing. Imagine how you feel, if you've invested this money into this piece of equipment and it's not talking with, it's not talking well with the other things. That's the last thing that we want as your team. And we know it's the last thing you want. So we want to make sure that all this stuff talks to each other, that you're going to have a smooth and efficient workflow, and that it's going to be successful for you. Okay, guys, the results are clear. When you invest in 3D technology, this is going to be a winner for you. Okay, no doubt about it. You're going to see a higher case acceptance rate from your patients. Remember that picture I showed? A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? We've heard that millions of times in our lives. Okay, you're going to see a better clinical outcome when you're able to look at these images in much higher detail and show them to your patients, right? They are going to say yes. And finally, you're going to grow your practice. All right, patients they're going to be wowed when they see this. This is the coolest thing, seeing a cone beam image, right? Like when you see your mouth scanned with a CAD/CAM scanner and see that rendering, it's super cool. You're going to wow them. They're going to go tell their friends, like Marta talked about. They're going to post videos on Facebook or Instagram, and they're going to tell people. You're going to build a buzz. It's going to help you grow your practice. Okay. The next piece of technology that I'm going to talk to you guys about, it's a game changer. All right, no doubt about it. You guys have heard the term disruptive technology before, okay? And I want you to think about, what do those words mean to you? Okay, disruptive technology. I showed you the iPhone, right? If you got an iPhone or a Galaxy phone, not to age myself, but my dad, he was a real estate agent in the 80s, and he would walk around with the shoulder pack cell phone on and have like the big antenna coming off of it. How did the iPhone change, how everybody does business nowadays, how everybody lives their lives? I can order a load of groceries from Safeway right now off of my phone. How about Tesla, self-driving cars? How is that going to change the way everybody lives? A self-driving car, oh my gosh, disruptive, right? How about Amazon? One of Seattle's finest, Amazon. How has that changed and impacted your daily lives? You can't drive down the street without seeing an Amazon box on somebody's doorway, right? How about CAD/CAM, same day dentistry? Mara did a dive into CAD/CAM, and she talked to you about some of the impacts and benefits that can have for your practice. How has that changed what dentists do every day? Okay, the Celea CO2 laser from Convergent Dental is a disruptive technology. Okay, guys, now I want to be clear. This laser is not for everybody, all right? But this is a super cool piece of technology. It's something that is absolutely changing practices, and it's changing how patients are viewing these practices. It's got a significant buzz across the country, and I just wanted to get you guys some information on it. So, think about this. Think about how dentistry has always been done in the past, okay? You're going into the dentist for your filling, right? You get a shot to numb the tooth. The doctor is going to use either a drill or an instrument to remove the decay. All right, you get it filled with composite or amalgam, okay? Nothing too crazy or earth-shattering, but this is how dentistry has always been done, right? Well, Celea, that changes, right? So you're now able to take the drill and the needle out of virtually every cavity prep and give your patients a great blood-free and anesthesia-free experience. Okay, now I don't want to get too much into the weeds on this, but Celea operates at a unique wavelength that enables high-speed precision cutting on both hard and soft tissue. Okay, Celea works on everything from gingiva to dentin to enamel and bone, giving you much better clinical outcomes and a huge boost to your wow factor. When you do cavity preps without anesthesia, everything gets done quicker and easier, okay? There's no more calming patients down, injecting them, leaving the operatory while they get numb, or reappointing them for work in other quadrants, right? Saving time doing hard tissue work and performing your own soft tissue surgeries enables huge practice growth, all right? Celea takes the stopping and starting out of your day, and you do it all in less time, all right? The average Celea dentist, they typically, you know, feedback I get is that they feel like they're doing less work, but in reality, when they're looking at their production at the end of the month, they're doing 4 to 6 more procedures every day, okay? You now have the ability to do multi-quadrant cavity preps, gingivectomies, frenectomies, crown lengthenings, soft tissue contouring, all right? It's all possible with this one laser, okay?
So Micah, I have a question. This looks like amazing technology to me, but because it is such an industry disruptor, it's out of the norm of what, you know, is sort of in the comfort zone. Is there any sort of a test period for this kind of tech? It looks amazing, but what if I'm a bit nervous and I decide that I'm not going to use it?
Absolutely, Cindy. Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked. So Celea has an unbelievable onboarding and training program, and they're one of the only manufacturers out there. They offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. All right. Now, I've never had one of these lasers come back. All right, but this stuff works, guys. It's not going to be like that, Cindy. We shared, you know, when we were chatting before the call on how, you know, you had bought a laser and didn't use it. That is not the case with Celea. Celea is
I didn't necessarily know you were going to share that with everyone.
Oh.
No, it's okay. I think dentists have closets full of things that they didn't use, and that's why I asked the question, because
it's
it is really,
right?
you know,
Yeah.
and then the things we love so much, we want to share them with the world, but those things we'd like to hope they, agree. Yeah, exactly.
That's the amazing thing about Celea. We've seen it work so many times. It's such an amazing piece of technology. And, you know, to have that guarantee put on the equipment is unbelievable, right? It works and it's tried and true.
Yeah.
You know, another big area that, you know, we're all trying to figure out as we navigate through this, you know, this new world of protecting our patients and our staff and our team from all these airborne particles. You know, Celea, it can have a significant impact on the reduction of airborne particles and droplets in your practice, right? So in clinical studies, Celea was shown to reduce aerosols and droplets by up to 99.9%. All right, you just got to think it's simple. Less drilling, less splatter, right? I don't know if you guys have seen the splatter zone on YouTube, but there is all sorts of stuff that comes out of the patient's mouth from the drill, and that's all eliminated with the Celea laser. So we actually had a doc, one of the first lasers that I sold. So Patterson's been carrying the Celea since 2017. It came out in 2016. And one of the first doctors that we sold it to up in the Snohomish area, Dr. Berg, he was, you know, in the later stages of his career, and Celea totally reinvigorated him. He loves using it every day. I've taken my son into his practice before and had a cavity treated in there. And it's just an amazing piece of technology that works. Celea simply works. Now, the last area that we're going to chat about today is your sterilization room. Now, guys, I know your most exciting and favorite part of the practice, right? But just bear with me, okay? Bear with me. I think it's super important that we all acknowledge and accept that this area of your practice has changed in the past 12 months, okay? This is a space that your team, their processes and workflows, everything's changed, okay? Now, I want you all to be honest with yourself, and I want you guys to kind of visualize your sterilization room and ask yourself this question, okay? Is my sterilization room a space that I would be proud to show off to a new patient? You know, if you're doing new patient tours and you're showing them your sterilization room, then more power to you. That is awesome. But I can tell you that's not the norm, okay? I think this is a very important question for all of you to consider, okay? Your sterilization area should be a hub for your practice, okay? Space that should have one of the highest priorities, all right? Just think about it. Think about everything that runs through your sterilization room, okay? This is where you sanitize and sterilize all of your instruments and hand pieces, everything that goes into your patient's mouths, right? Like, how much risk are you taking with this area if something's not done right? Okay. Okay. You store the majority of your supplies in the sterilization room, right? This is an area where, you know, it's a central hub for your practice, and it should be somewhere that one, that you're proud of it, you know, and two, that you've got a very well defined and efficient workflow. Okay. Now we know that the CDC and the ADA have come out with all sorts of recommendations on how you can improve the safety of this room and how you can reduce the risk of, you know, exposure to COVID to your patients and staff. Okay. How many of you guys attended webinars last year where they talked until they were blue in the face about reducing aerosols, reducing droplets, reducing the risk of spread, right? Like, you guys been beaten into you, right? And all in all, dentists have done a phenomenal job. You guys have followed the infection control procedures, and, you know, dental was one of the first areas to be opened back up across the country after the shutdown last year. So, you know, we've done a phenomenal job, but I think it's important, you know, that as we navigate through all of this, that, you know, we take a second and we just breathe, let's relax, right? We don't need to recreate the wheel to get this right. But I do think that if you sit down, you come up with a plan that works for your practice, with your patient's safety and health being the #1 priority, I think you can come up, you know, with, if you don't already have a super efficient workflow, and implement a plan that you can be proud of, and that you can start making your sterilization area, you know, a spot that you bring new patients, or you talk to your patients about, right? Like, how cool is it when you have a new patient coming in, if you can take them right to your sterilization area and say, gosh, you know what, Bob, thank you so much for coming in today. Like, you know, we take your health and safety at the highest level, right? That is one of our top priorities. And I want to start and show you our sterilization area, right? Like, we make sure that our stuff is sterilized. We follow CDC recommendations. That's a super powerful statement in today's world, and somewhere where you can really differentiate yourself, right? I think in setting up your workflow for sterilization, I think you want to analyze, you'll definitely want to analyze and sit down and look through each step in the sterilization process. Okay. Okay. So think about it. How do you receive dirty instruments and trays into this room? Okay. Do you have a staging area for dirty trays to be stored in until the instruments can be pushed through? It's the last thing you want, is to have a new patient coming through and, gosh, there's a dirty tray sitting there right on the counter with blood and bone and, you know, looking all nasty. That's not the impression that you want to set, right? So think about your pre-soak, your rinsing, your cleaning procedures. You know, how do you dry and package and then sterilize your instruments and hand pieces? Okay. Having a clearly defined workflow that moves your materials efficiently through this area will make a huge difference. Okay. Make sure that your team understands all of the equipment in this room. Okay. There's a ton of dollars tied up in sterilizers and ultrasonics and instrument washers and handpiece maintenance systems, right? Make sure that your team knows how to maintain them and how to use them.
So, Mike, I have a question for you here.
Sure.
That is a beautiful sterilization room, first of all. And mine did not look like that. But I've always thought it was okay. But I always felt like there was bottlenecks and there was areas where I wanted to improve, but I didn't know what pieces of equipment would fit in where.
Yep.
And it was just kind of like it was a very important hub, just like you're talking about. And now even more important, it's just heightened. Do you come out and consult in the sterilization rooms? Could I give you a call and you come out, find my bottleneck and help me out?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. And I've been doing that a ton in these past 12 months. And it has been a super hot topic. Doctors are wanting to kind of, they're wanting to revamp, their steri centers. They're wanting to eliminate the bottlenecks. CDC just came out with that recommendation about, no instruments can be loose, right? So everything has to be packaged. So it has, there's been a lot of questions, and, I've been out meeting with tons of clients. So yes, absolutely. I will come out and meet with you and help kind of, make sure that you're making the best decision for your practice and your workflow.
I love it. Thank you so much. So informative and so helpful.
Absolutely.
And timely.
Absolutely. Lastly, guys, you want to make sure that your instruments are coming out of the sterilizer and that they're like we talked about, they're being packaged and stored properly, right? So like Cindy said, this is absolutely a dream Steri Center from ADEC, right? They make beautiful, beautiful cabinetry, but you want to make sure that your stuff, at the very least, that it's being staged and stored properly. It's not at risk of being punctured or torn or being exposed to any outside moisture. Planning and controlling this flow of materials and supplies is super, super critical to the successful operation of your practice. And that's one thing that our team takes a lot of pride in. As I mentioned earlier, we've got all this experience. We're in all these different offices. We see all this different stuff, and we're here to help. Okay. So, in closing, I think if we as a dental community, we always strive to keep our hearts in the right place and provide patients with a higher level of care, exceed their expectations, and really, try to wow them every time that they come into the practice, then it's almost guaranteed, guys. Okay, you're going to see an increase in your production. You're going to see an immediate return on the investments that you've decided to make in this technology. And it's quite simply, it's going to work. And so with that being said, thank you so much for your time. Sorry, the slides were a little bit low. Everybody remembers Jerry Maguire, show me the money. Hopefully you're saying that, after investing in this technology, and it's coming through. But, guys, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure getting to chat with you. I'm always here to be a resource. You can call me, text me, email me, reach out. I'm happy to help. With that, I'll pass the baton back off to Dr. Cindy for question and answer.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I think you guys have proven yourselves to be the dream team that I knew that you were. So much good information. Of course, sometimes it feels like you're drinking from a fire hose because there's so much out there. So any one of you, I know people could reach out to. We're going to provide your emails, your phone numbers to any follow-up questions that they have on what you might have talked about today. Phenomenal information and just so well presented. We actually have a ton of questions in the chat, although we have taken a lot of our time. So we'll just kind of take a couple of the questions that we got, except for I went to the chat instead of the question answer. This is for Lisa. How easy is it to switch to different software if I wanted to make that change? You got to unmute. Lisa, you've got to unmute. Yep.
Forgot about that. Thank you.
Sorry.
So yeah, it's definitely a process. We call it going through a conversion, and it all depends on the software that you're starting with and then what you're moving towards. But in my experience with what Patterson can do, we do a trial conversion, which I absolutely love as a trainer, so that the office knows exactly what data they'll get pulled from their old software and into the new. So there's no surprises, and it's done online, it's remote. It's even that when we talk about all this change, even how conversions were when I first started, they've just really fine-tuned them now. And it's just it's a process that's attainable and easy to do.
Thank you. That's helpful. I have another question. This one looks like it's from Mara. What are the space requirements for milling machines, etc.? Do I need a separate room or just a small corner?
Milling chambers, there's a couple of options. We can put them, sometimes they live in the old developer rooms because, as Lisa mentioned, if you're using x-rays, conventional x-rays, then you want to get rid of those. So sometimes they live in the old developing rooms. Sometimes there's space created in the lab so that we can have a nice efficient workflow when it's milled. We do the post-mill process where we're polishing and then firing in the oven. Or what's even a step better is there's a cabinet that's made and it's soundproofed and it's put out into the waiting rooms. Dr. Cindy had this, and it's a fabulous, it's your marketing tool. And so if you have it out there, then you can keep your workflow in the lab nice and clean. So there are options. I want to say it's 21 inches wide ish, depending on which mill you get. So yeah, I mean, you definitely need some space, but we're creative and ultimately we're kind of looking at what's going to be the best for the practice and how we're going to make sure that it's showcasing for the practice as well.
That's really helpful. Yeah, you guys did an amazing job. It was such a centerpiece, but still accessible for us to get to clinically. This one looks like it's going to be for Micah. I've been doing more and more implants, but don't have room for a CBCT, and I need another op or two. What do I do? Is there a compact CBCT? A mini CBCT? Do I move to a bigger space?
There we go. Sorry, guys. Yeah, mini CBCT. They typically
handheld.
No, there's no handhelds that I'm aware of on a 3D unit. They have, some of the units do require a little bit less space. So just have me come out, reach out to me. I'm happy to come out and kind of look through the space, and we can go through options and see what's going to be the best fit for you. What was the second part of that too, Cindy?
No, that was it. It was just a lot about the space.
Oh, okay. I thought there was, yeah, open ops.
I guess
open ops.
Yeah, I think I'll answer the end. Do I move to a bigger space? If you do decide to move to a bigger space, in our office, in the OMNI offices, we have a specialist who helps dentists with space moving, and his name is Steve Kakikis, and he is actually he specializes in helping dentists acquire and move their spaces. So maybe I'll help move the space, and then you fill it in with the CB. So, we'll go. I think we have time for like one more question here. So I'm going to go. Everyone's jumping off. Okay. Mara's jumping off. Is Mara jumping off? No, she's right here. I see her. Okay. So I think, we have so many questions. I think we've answered a lot of them. I'll just conclude by saying thank you to this panel. It was amazing. Your information was really interesting, timely, and thank you so much for today's for being here today and spending the energy and time to put together the presentation, which I know is a ton of information funneled down in a tiny amount of time. So I just want to thank Mara Woodard, Micah Blackwood, Lisa Newman, Marta Korchemniy, which I finally did right, and thank the OMNI group for putting this on, and tell everyone to take care, and we will see you next webinar.
Bye, guys.
Bye.